Hello YouTube, One Lazy Trucker here, and today I'm going to do what I normally would not do, and that's comment on public cases, especially involving celebrities. I try to avoid that simply because most of the time I see no point in commenting on them. I thought Rittenhouse was a self-defense case. I thought the Ahmaud Arbery case was a 3 guys murdered a young man. Now, I have to tell you, I think Alec Baldwin is an irresponsible piece of shit. I watched some clips of that George Stephanopoulos, who, by even doing that interview, is a piece of shit in my opinion. And eventually you can only handle so much of these turds being stupid. The fact that Alec Baldwin doesn't even seem to know the basic rules of firearm safety doesn't shock me or surprise me. But the fact that he would blame the cinematographer for telling him to point the gun in her direction, you gotta be kidding me. And then you didn't pull the trigger? Well, then there's something seriously wrong with that gun. In which case the armorer should have been checking those guns. But the fact that he's going to use a tool and not bother to learn how to use it after 40 years of being in the acting industry, playing with guns. And I'm here to tell you, guns are not toys. He could have read the NRA Guide to the Basics of Pistol Shooting. First chapters, safety. We'll go after that. He could have picked up some Boy Scout marriage badge pamphlets about firearms. They're very basic, and some of the first stuff they teach is firearm safety. And all the rules are the same in all these books. I don't have any Boy Scout pistol merit badges. And even here, this is for bird bombs. It's a .22 caliber. But you treat it like it's a firearm because it is. You put an explosive device in one end and something comes out the other end. So this, although as the box says, not technically a firearm according to the American Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, I beg to differ. That even the .22 caliber nail guns that are used in construction, sometimes they have a trigger. Sometimes they have a, you hammer them. I've used them. You put 22 blanks in them and they go bang, and with enough power to shoot a nail into concrete. So the fact that he's running around a movie set like a dumbass, pointing a gun, not checking gun, not having enough knowledge about the tools to even check the gun. If he'd even been taught basic firearm safety, maybe he should have gone to Boy Scout summer camp instead of whatever the hell he was doing as a teenager, and being afraid of guns, because he came off in that interview like, oh, the armorers, if I fiddled with it, would take the gun away and recheck it, and so I never did that. I don't know how Hollywood works, but if you did that around me, you'd be off any range I was on. And anybody who has even slightly messed up at the gun range knows that the range master is going to chew your ass up one side and down the other for fucking around with firearms. Why? Because they're not toys. They're tools. And like a lot of tools, they can be deadly. That's what they were designed for. So even this little bird bomb gun, it's a 22 caliber or 6mm caliber, even has some safety rules on the back. I don't know if you can read that, but it tells you how to load it. It also says, caution, always wear ear and eye protection devices when firing. Always use the 15mm barrel adapter provided. Never use around buildings, dry fields, or any flammable material. Never aim at or near people. That's pretty much one of the first rules of firearms. Always store launcher empty of caps and cartridges. It's another rule of firearms. You store your guns empty unless they're at the ready for self-defense. And pretty sure they weren't using that gun for self-defense on the set. Although this launcher is not a firearm as defined by US ATF, please exercise proper precautions in use and storage. Keep out of reach of children. Why? Because these things are not toys. This is essentially a starting gun, but it shoots bird bombs. It's for scaring birds out of orchards and out of your garden. Then if we take out a 1974 edition of a Boy Scout merit badge, we'll read some of the rules for, because the first chapter is safety. The newer version, the one that's from 1988, the red and white one, safety's the second chapter, and I don't understand why they did that, but they did. And one of the requirements of the air badge and merit badge is to explain why air guns need to be treated like any other firearm, because they're dangerous. Pellet guns are dangerous. A lot of pellet guns are designed to shoot squirrels and rodents around the farm, around the granaries, around food production facilities. Now they have some really pretty powerful air guns they use in Florida for taking out the invasive iguana population. I think they're 22 caliber air rifles, so those are not toys either. So let's go over the Boy Scout, the Shooter Safety Code. So this is back when they were teaching boys how to be men, which apparently Alec Baldwin didn't know how to be a fucking man, or he wouldn't have, one, fucked up with that firearm, or two, he would be saying, I am extremely sorry, this is very tragic, I fucked up. Personal responsibility in this country has gone the way of the wind, and that is sad because it takes away from our quality of life. When you are responsible for your actions as an individual, like you should be, life's better for everybody. Anyways, back to the Scout's Shooter Safety Code. A Scout always follows the rules for gun safety. Well, how about that? Gun safety first. Accepts the responsibility going with the use and possession of guns, which Alec Baldwin has not accepted that responsibility. Follows the laws governing the use and possession of guns in his community. Obviously, he didn't bother to learn those rules. Practices wildlife conservation. Gun owners and hunters are some of the best conservationists. Follows the spirit and the letter of the game laws. Is especially careful to be a true sportsman when using guns. And the first chapter is gun safety. Explain the meaning of each point of the shooter's safety code. Agree to live up to it. You know, basic principles of gun safety, should always be followed. They're pretty much the same in that other one. But now we have, and these merit badge pamphlets are only a couple of bucks. If you buy them at yard sales or secondhand stores, they're less than $1. I think I probably paid a quarter a piece for mine. The NRA handbook for pistol shooting, suggested retail price of $19.95. I guess that was too much to spend on that movie set to teach the actors how to be responsible. I picked mine up at a secondhand store for a box of stuff, so it was probably a quarter or less. So, first chapter, gun safety. And it goes over the basics of gun safety. And if you just follow those rules, I mean, they're simple, easy to follow. So right after the introduction, actually even in the introduction, a little note right there, a gun owner's responsibilities. Americans enjoy a right that citizens of many other countries do not, the right to own firearms. But with this right comes responsibilities. It is the gun owner's responsibility to store, operate, and maintain his or her firearm safely. It is the gun owner's responsibility to ensure that unauthorized or untrained individuals cannot gain access to his or her firearms. And it is the gun owner's responsibility to learn and obey all applicable laws that pertain to the purchase, possession, and use of a firearm in his or her locale. Guns are neither safe nor unsafe by themselves. When gun owners learn and practice responsible gun ownership, guns are safe. Guns do not go off by themselves. Guns do not get up off the table and go out and kill people. Then they have a safety note. The NRA's first and most fundamental rule for safe gun handling is always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. This rule must always be observed. It cannot be relaxed even for legitimate education or training purposes. Absolute unvarying adherence to this most important of gun safety rules cannot be overemphasized. In some of the photographs in this book that illustrate specific shooting stances or positions, it was sometimes necessary for instructional purposes to position the camera in front of the muzzle of the gun. At no point was an actual functioning firearm used in these photographs. Maybe Hollywood should take note of that. Hopefully Alec Baldwin learned something. Son of a bitch should be in fucking jail already. The fact he blamed the victim. Oh, they handed me a cold gun. Which there's another thing about handling firearms. I'm going to read off of one of the merit badge books. At no time was an actual functioning firearm used in these photographs. Special deactivated non-firing training guns or solid plastic gun simulators were employed, and in some cases the camera was fired by a remote trigger. Keep everyone safe. Don't point a gun at something you do not and are not willing to destroy. Now, the fact that son of a bitch don't check his own guns, and I'm sorry for all the cussing and swearing, but unbelievable. So, back in the 70s, Boy Scout had to write a 200-word essay on my responsibilities as a shooter. How about that? And these rules apply to any gun and all guns. me see, maybe it's in this one. Yeah, you have to explain why a BB and pellet air guns must always be treated with the same respect as firearms, because they're not toys. So let's see here. See, they go with parts of a rifle, which I don't understand why they put gun safety behind rifle parts and ammunition. Maybe it's to calm kids down. But firearms are dangerous. And the fact that they didn't take it seriously. Rules for safe rifle handling. 3 basic rules apply whenever you are handling a rifle or any other gun under any circumstances. Rule number 1 is the golden rule of gun safety. Always point the muzzle in a safe direction. Whether you are shooting or simply handling your rifle, never point the muzzle at yourself or others. Common sense should dictate which direction is safest depending on your location and other conditions. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. There is a natural tendency to place your finger on the trigger when picking up or handling a rifle or gun. Don't do it. That's what trigger guards are for, to enable you to hold the rifle comfortably with your finger off the trigger. Keep the action open and unloaded until ready to use. When you pick up or are handed any rifle or gun, while following rules 1 and 2, immediately open the action and visually check to see the chamber is unloaded. If the rifle has a magazine, make sure it's empty. If you do not know how to open the rifle action, leave it alone and get help from someone who does. And then, they go over the, 5 basic rules of shooting. Be sure of your target. Know how your firearm operates and handles. Be sure your rifle and ammunition are compatible. Carry only one type of ammunition when shooting. Improper ammunition can be placed accidentally in a rifle chamber, creating a serious hazard. Don't mix alcohol or drugs with shooting. Alcohol and other substances likely impair. So, there's some speculation that Dingaling was drinking before he went to the set. Do not pick up beer or alcohol and then pick up a firearm. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Wear eye and ear protection. Be aware that other conditions may require additional rules. So, if you're on a movie set, follow the basic rules of firearm safety. Treat all guns like they're loaded. And had he done that, and had he cleared the weapon himself, because you, the person handling the firearm, is responsible for making sure that it's clear and that nothing negligent happens. Hunters have accidentally shot friends and family and killed them and gone to prison. So, Alec Baldwin has no excuse. He needs to take personal responsibility for what he did and follow the fucking rules. That's what they're there for. To keep people safe so nobody fucking dies. And he couldn't even pick up a book and read it. It's ridiculous. Even learning the basics of firearm handling. And then I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, they better have that gun inspected. And the same rules that I just read off are in this book. They're basic, they're universal. Know what the hell you're doing. And I realize money buys you justice. It's another thing that dipshit said in that interview with Stephanopoulos. Oh, I got word that I'm not going to be charged. Money buys you justice in this country. Is he saying he paid somebody off already? And that he'll try and pay the family off? That's ridiculous. And that's disgusting. Those 3 idiots that murdered the guy in Georgia are going to prison. That DA and the sheriff in New Mexico, doesn't matter who brought those bullets onto the set. The responsible party was the last one to handle the gun. And that's it. If he'd done what he was supposed to do, people would still be alive, and they wouldn't even be talking about this shit. So that's my message, is follow firearm safety. If you don't know how to handle guns, the NRA has the Eddie the Eagle program for kids, kindergarten to 3rd grade, I believe. And what do they tell kids? Leave. If you see a gun, stop, don't touch it, leave the area, and tell an adult. So maybe that's what Hollywood needs to do, is leave the guns alone and go tell an adult. Somebody who's mature enough to take responsibility for their actions. But I'll be praying for your safe travels, and have a blessed weekend.